Well, welcome back. Let's get into this next chat. The Recording Academy has extended invitations to nearly 3,600 new members for its 2025 class. And these are music professionals from various backgrounds, genres and disciplines. The new members, they will have the opportunity to vote for the Grammy Awards, shape the future of the music industry. Well, our very own best-selling author, poet, producer, performer, Siphokazi Jonas will be joining the 2025 class and joins us virtually this morning to speak about this massive achievement. So on that note, Siphokazi, good morning and congratulations. Thank you for joining us at this hour.
Good morning, Liesl. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a huge honor. It's a big feat. I know that it's not only important to be at the table. It's important to, be part of shaping the table, because we own our narratives. We can also, add to the lens that obviously our stories, our languages, the history and our memories portrayed. And so for you, being part of this Recording Academy 2025 class, I mean, how does it feel? What's the mission for you? What does it mean of being a member of this for our history and heritage at large?
I think you've really struck the nail on the head there, Liesl, because when you speak about being at the table, for me, it really is about advocacy.
Yes.
Being able to advocate for the livelihood of artists, because I think this is an international body, and a lot of the challenges that artists face around the world are very, very similar. So it's being able to bring South African voices to that conversation. It's an honor, as one can imagine. And there's so many of us who are really, really proud to be part of this body. And so I think advocating for the kind of livelihood that we wish to see for artists, for the work that's happening, because what's important about being at the table is that when you're doing the work, when you're on the ground, you know what's happening, you know which voices are really here and don't always get the kind of platform that they need. So it's being able to augment the incredible creativity that we have on this continent.
Yep, to your point, it's about not having our artists overlooked, and obviously also just making sure that the filtration, system, that lens has representation and inclusivity. I mean, for those who don't know how the selection happened and really what the voting process also means ahead of the Grammy Awards, I mean, explain what your role is ultimately going to be.
So the beautiful thing is a lot of people know about the Grammy Awards, but that's only really part of it. As I said, there's the advocacy work. There's the growth of your career as well, because you get to network, you get to learn from other artists. There's a very comprehensive explanation of the process, but really it generally starts with a recommendation by your peers, and then some people within the industry, and then you apply and really say what you think your contribution would be and what your contribution has been. And what's really exciting for me is that they added a category for spoken word poetry only a few years ago, I think about 3 or 4 years ago. So to be on this, to be within this body as a spoken word poet, for me is especially exciting, because I'm hoping it will encourage other poets to make sure that they're creating their work, they're putting themselves out there, they're recording and making sure that our voice is heard. So I'm excited to encourage poets in particular, and people within my discipline to just put their work out there as much as possible.
Absolutely. And it's also about these global bodies catching up to the greatness that exists in our context as well, right? Because if we're looking at the metrics that are employed, I mean, that also adds to the agency and perhaps also, how our work has been received, the categories as well. What's that evolution also look like from your vantage point as you now become part of that 2025 class? What more could be done to improve on that front as well?
I truly believe, respectfully, that, we have the cradle of humankind here, and that the center of creativity and the future of where art is going is really on the African continent. So instead of, sort of trying to find a way to say, look at what we do, it's like, come here, come and see what we do, come and collaborate with us, come and join what we're doing. I really believe that we have our eye on the present and the future as well. And so if anyone wants to collaborate, if anyone wants to find ways of innovation, so on, I say come to Africa. It's happening. It's hot right here on the continent.
Yeah, and I mean the support that obviously is also needed in our own industry, right? When we look at the frameworks that exist, the gaps and the challenges that artists still face. If we're going to imagine what that enabling environment looks like, that inclusive environment as well, tell us what your vision as a practitioner within the space looks like, and what more should our leadership, our government be doing to support our African artists and what they bring to the global stage?
You know, Liesel, I don't feel like we have to really justify the importance of the existence of art anymore. I'm hoping that
Yes.
most people already know how
Yes.
significant the arts have been in archiving our history, in ensuring that our stories are not lost, and we know who we are because of the work that creators do. So for me, my mission is advocating for artists to have a dignified living, to actually be able to live. We know the issues. We've seen the stories in the media in South Africa, for example, constantly, or we know stories of artists that pass who are destitute, and people have enjoyed their music, people have enjoyed their stories, their books, and so on. But at the end, there's very little financial compensation, or at least a sustained living. So it isn't. It is a microcosm of what's happening in broader society. But I think obviously I have a very specific passion in advocating for artists to be able to afford to live. And so I really want to use my voice and my position within this professional body
Yeah.
to add to that call, which I believe is a global call.
No, absolutely. And consumption methods are changing. We're in a digital age as well. So platforms are also shifting. You're also looking at how, you monetize on that front. Again, to your point about inclusivity, but also restoring agency. What more do you think could be done on that front for the continent to, obviously benefit, not only through royalties, but ownership as well?
So as you said, royalties, ownership, those things are incredibly important in creating the sustained living. But I think what a lot of artists on the continent want to see are more open borders, in the sense of being able to travel between countries with ease, because sometimes it can be more expensive to travel within the continent than it is to travel from here and work in Europe, for example. So
Sure.
if making it easier for artists to get visas, to be able to bring their gear along, because it can be quite costly. So if there are ways to ensure that artists are able to collaborate across the continent, collaborate with each other, and move without really having to break the bank, and make it easy for audiences as well to be able to receive artists and hear sounds and stories from all around the continent, it would be incredible.
I don't know how embargoed the process is and what you're allowed to divulge. I mean, are there any artists that you have your eye and ear on? Are you able to speak about that? Is that going to infiltrate the process? I mean, tell us a little bit more about what the do's and don'ts are at this point. Anyone you're rooting for?
I think to maintain, the integrity of the voting
Okay.
process,
Okay.
I'll have to withhold my thoughts and comments at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, are you based in the country? So do these, meetings happen virtually? Do you all then descend to, the States? I mean, tell us a little bit more about how that networking also comes about, and really what's going to happen. What are the timelines that we're also looking at for those submissions? How are you also going to focus in, perhaps I have to, pause on some of the other work as you apply yourself? I mean, this is obviously going to change someone's life.
Some of those answers, or rather some of those questions, I'll be able to answer a little further down the process, since we've just been invited.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm based in Cape Town, and I believe quite a large part of the process will likely happen virtually.
Okay.
But I would say for those who are looking to actually submit their work, I believe the submissions close at the end of August. So they must really work, get their projects together if they're not released yet, and make sure that they can meet that deadline. It would be wonderful to see as many African artists on the bill as possible.
Well, as you have always owned or alluded to the fact that we need to own our own narrative, and the story of the world is incomplete without our version. The world is watching. We are the magic that the world has been waiting for. Thank you for being at the table. Thank you for making sure our voices will be heard. And we're wishing you all the best of luck. It's not a small feat, but all the best as you continue to also fly the flag high for our country and the continent. Siphokazi Jonas this morning chatting about her selection to the Recording Academy's 2025 class. Of course, she's a new member. It's an inspiring global community of creators and professionals. They're going to be shaping the future of music and spoken word poetry and ensure that our voices are heard. Siphokazi.